Hey, I'm Rad Linux, and today we're going to be showing off a little bit of this and a little bit of this and some of this. So we're going to show you how to alter your fonts for the Flipper Zero. Now let's hop into the terminal and let's see how this works. So let's look at our folder structure. Oh, that's not it. There we go. And let's make this a little bit bigger so that we can all see what's happening. Let's try that again. All right, excellent. So this is the structure of our firmware source code. A lot of stuff going on in here. Check out some of my other videos to see how things like the build command work and all that. But today we're going to just focus on fonts. So the first thing I want to show is we're going to go to CD library, and then we're going to go to U8G2. And this is our font folder. So there's a lot of information in here. I don't really know how all of it works. It's taking me a little bit to just get to this, but what the file I want to show right now is the U8G2 fonts with an S .c file. And here you can see that we have fonts. So there's different font names that are all set up or shown through comments, these light blue areas. And then there's a bunch of code to make these fonts work. I don't actually understand that code, but this is where we can find all of the available fonts. They don't use all of them, but they're all there to be used if we want to. But right now, I think what I was showing before is the I was showing the Disco font. Let's see. Huh? Why is that not coming up? Disco. All right, fair enough. VCR. Yeah, so it was like disco, something disco, and then the VCR OSD fonts. Those are the two that I had showing at the beginning of the video. And if you just kind of scroll through, you can see that there's like a ton of different fonts available. The thing that we want to look at is this section right here. So this is, I believe, like the variable that gets set for different possible fonts. This is the important element that we're gonna want, and we're gonna copy that. So I'm gonna copy that to my clipboard, and I'm gonna move ourselves over to a different terminal. So let's hop over, and here, let's blow that up again. We're going to go back to our, the root of our folder structure here. And this time we're going to go to applications, and we're going to go to services and GUI. The services folder is an interesting one. There's a lot of fun stuff to play around with in here, but in the GUI folder, we have the canvas, here we go, canvas.c file. And this is a file that's going to set up our screens. It sets the fonts. It sets some of the different things that are going to get drawn on each segment of our Flipper, and we want to go down. Let's see. So here we go. What we want here is the canvas set font section, and what we want to adjust are these. So here we have like the primary font. Here you can see I have the digital disco thin. This is the secondary font, keyboard fonts, and fonts for big numbers. So there's 4 different fonts that we can set, and it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to see. We're going to get rid of this whole thing, and I'm going to place this font in here. So this is the font micro. You really only have to replace this section because I'm pretty sure that the U8G2 font is pretty consistent. So it's really this last portion that needs to get adjusted. But now we can go back. We're going to save this file, and I'm going to go back to the root of our firmware folder, and I'm going to run fbt flash USB. Now, you don't have to flash all the resources over to make this work. You just need a simple flash. And make sure that you're at the main menu when you do this flash, the main animation screen. Otherwise, it can affect the ability to. Okay. Oh yeah. So the other thing you have to do is make sure that you have something like QFlipper closed, so that it doesn't. Otherwise, it's unable to make a connection through serial. Only one serial connection is possible at a time through the flipper. So we're going to try that one more time. And here we go. Now it's sending that chunked up updater file, and so the .fufs, .bin, and then .dfu. So just the simple stuff. It's not going to pass any of the resources, any of the applications or anything. So any applications you have, all the stuff you have on your flipper is not going to be affected, which can get kind of annoying when you flip around between some of these community firmware. They delete their own stuff every time a new firmware gets pushed over. So, if you were using a bunch of the stuff that, let's say, Squatchware allows you to use, then you are going to be really annoyed when you go back after a firmware change and all that stuff is gone. So there we go. It was a really quick flash. It's very quick to flash the actual firmware. It's the resources that take a good amount of time. So let me go and open QFlipper back up. And I'm gonna real fast. I have to reset this scene every time I do that. Pipewire is nice, but it does force you to reset the window you're using every time. So okay, let's transition back over to our flipper, and let's take a peek at our new font. Oh, there we go. This is the micro font, and you can see that the VCR, on-screen display font is still viewable as the large text font. And then let's see if we can go down. Okay, so I guess interesting. A lot of stuff doesn't seem to use like the secondary font too often, and yeah, I don't know. It's kind of confusing which fonts are being used in which spaces. That's something I haven't quite figured out. But you can see that it's pretty easy to adjust and change the fonts. The hard part is finding the right fonts that fit the right sizes. And it can be a little bit helpful to go check out the Flipper Style Guide online. I'll try to leave a link down below. Because they tell you which fonts are already being used, so you can get an idea of what size fonts will better fit. I think that there's also possibilities of adding like new fonts to like if you append the fonts.c file, but I'm not 100% sure about that, and I don't really know exactly how this U8G2 font structure works. I just know that it's pretty easy to make these changes. There's a lot of fonts that aren't being used. There's only like 4 fonts being used, and there's like hundreds, or it seems like like 100 fonts or more or something available through this U8G2 font file, which I believe is just kind of like some open source fonts that they're able to use. I initially had seen somebody do this with like the Nokia font on Reddit, and I've been looking to try and figure out how to adjust the font on my own. But thanks to them, I was able to find the exact spot in the canvas file. I knew it was around someplace. I just couldn't figure it out for myself. But there we go. And now, there's also more fonts to choose from and more fun ways to alter our flipper through changing the firmware on our own. So I hope you had a little fun here checking out this video. And hang around, check out a couple more if you'd like, and hopefully I'll see you next time on Rad Linux.